Now, with that mindset in place, there's actually one really important technical thing that you guys should be aware of. And that's that the accuracy or how good the output you get from a model is inversely related to the length of the prompt. And what I mean here is that the longer your prompt is, meaning the more words you have inside your prompt, the worse the output that the large language model will give you. So I'm just going to let that sink in because that's really important. The more words you have inside your prompt, the worse output the large language model is going to give you. And you guys can see this inside the graph over here, where as the input length is increasing, the accuracy is decreasing. And it's inversely related. Now, going back to the idea that you shouldn't give the model unnecessary information, one of the reasons why you shouldn't give the model unnecessary information is because the more words you have, the less accurate the output's going to be. And so generally, you don't want to just give it too many words. You want to give it just as many words as it needs, because more words, less accuracy. So it's really important to be able to balance how much the model needs to know without giving it too much information. And if we also think back a couple of slides, as I said, every single word inside your prompt is being used in order to make a prediction of what the next word should be. And so when you give the model unnecessary information, you have words inside the prompt that are going to throw the model off and are going to change the prediction of the next word. And so it's generally best practice to not give the model unnecessary information so it doesn't throw off the model when it's making the prediction as to what the next word should actually be. Now, there's one skill when it comes to writing a prompt that's extremely important. Probably the most important skill that you need to learn if you want to write really good prompts. And I call that skill information density. Now, the idea of information density is that inside your prompt, you want to always say the most in the fewest words without sacrificing clarity. This means you want to make the information inside each sentence of the prompt as dense as possible. So I'm just going to say this one more time because it's really important. You want to say the most in the fewest words without sacrificing clarity. And if you simplify this, what I'm basically saying is you should always remove the fluff inside your prompt. So I can give you an example to solidify this in your mind. A fluffy prompt, so a prompt that's not information dense, could be something like this one. Hi ChatGPT, I have this blog post and I want to summarize it. It's quite long and I want to send a shorter version to people who read my newsletter. They are busy professionals, so I'd like it to be short and to the point. Could you help me create a summary that kind of captures the main points and maybe makes it easier for them to understand without needing to read the whole thing? Please make sure it's good. That's a really, really bad prompt because this very long prompt could literally just be written in these 2 sentences. Summarize this blog post in 3 bullet points for busy professionals. Focus on key insights and actionable takeaways. So it literally says the same thing in way less words. And so the information in each of these sentences is much more dense than it is in this really fluffy sentence. And generally you'll find that when you first write a prompt, you'll end up making it really fluffy because you're writing it as you're thinking. And this left prompt over here is basically exactly that. The person is still thinking as they're writing. So it's repeating information, it's out of order. It doesn't really make that much sense in terms of its flow. And that's why after you always write the first iteration of your prompt, you should come back and then try and make it information dense by reducing the fluff and in a way saying the same thing in less words without sacrificing clarity. And the without sacrificing clarity point is really important because you can technically just keep making it more concise and more concise and more concise and put it in less and less and less words. But at some point, you will actually start taking meaning away from the prompt and it wouldn't really make sense. And so as much as the information density is important, you don't want to sacrifice clarity. So now you guys have an understanding of the two really important things about prompt engineering. And that's why I wanted to front load them, because they're super important. First one, the idea of information density. You want to make sure your prompt is as dense as possible by saying the most in the least words without sacrificing clarity. And the second one is that you should always tell the large language model everything it needs to know without telling it too much, because the large language model can't actually read your mind. So these two are really important. Always keep them at the back of your mind whenever you're writing a prompt.